In English, you just say the man, the woman, the dog. But in German, it's der Mann, die Frau, der Hund. And then suddenly it becomes den Mann, dem Hund, des Mannes. Wait, what just happened? Welcome to the wonderful world of German cases, where the words you already know suddenly start changing, depending on what they're doing in the sentence. But don't panic, we'll make it super simple, and we'll start with the easiest and most important one, the nominative case. Now let's answer the question, what are cases, and why does German use them? In English, we mostly rely on word order to understand who is doing what. For example, the dog bites the man versus the man bites the dog. Same words, different meaning, just because we changed the order. You'll also notice that in English, we use the article the in both cases, the dog and the man. The article doesn't change even if the noun is the subject, the one performing the action, or the object, the one receiving the action. So it's the word order that tells you who is biting whom. But in German, it works differently. German uses cases, which means the words themselves change form to show their role in the sentence. In German, cases affect nouns. That means the words for people, animals, places, things, or ideas, and the words that go with them, like articles and adjectives. Here's how it looks in German. Der Hund beißt den Mann.
The dog bites the man.
Even though Hund and Mann are both masculine, we use der for Hund, the subject, and den for Mann, the object. That change from der to den shows us that Mann is receiving the action. Let's flip the sentence. Der Mann beißt den Hund. The man bites the dog. Now Hund is the one being bitten, and again the article changes to den. And here's the cool part. Den Mann beißt der Hund. Der still means the dog bites the man. Even though the word order is reversed, we can still tell what's happening because the articles show us who's doing what. This is why German needs cases. They give you flexibility in word order without losing clarity in meaning. German cases tell us who is performing the action and who is the receiver of the action. And in our example, it is the change in article der versus den, which helps us identify who performs the action and who receives it. Contrast that with English, where it is the word order which does the same job. All right, before we jump into the nominative case, let's quickly clear up two important words you'll hear a lot: subject, object. So what's the subject of a sentence? It's the person or thing that does the action. And the object? That's the person or thing that receives the action, the one something is being done to. Let's take an easy example. The cat chases the mouse. The cat is the subject. She's doing the chasing. The mouse is the object. He's being chased. You can ask yourself, who is doing the action? The cat. Subject. Who is receiving the action? The mouse. Object. It's the same in German, but instead of relying only on word order, German uses cases to show who's the subject and who's the object. So now that you understand what a subject is, let's talk about the nominative case, or in German, der Nominativ. The nominative case is the form you use for the subject of a sentence. If you're saying, the cat sleeps, then the cat is in the nominative case, because she's doing the sleeping. Same in German. Die Katze schläft. Die Katze is the subject, so it's in the nominative. The good news? When you learn a German noun, the form you see in the dictionary is always the nominative. So when you see der Mann, the man, die Frau, the woman, das Kind, the child, that's the nominative form. And that's what you use when the noun is the doer of the action. In short, if the noun is the subject, the one doing something, use the nominative case. Now, there's one more place where the nominative case shows up, even though the noun isn't really doing anything. That's when you're using verbs like sein, to be, werden, to become, and sometimes bleiben, to remain. These are not action verbs. They're called linking verbs. They simply link the subject to a description or identity. And here's the key rule. The noun that comes after these verbs also stays in the nominative case. Let's look at a few examples. Ich bin der Lehrer. I am the teacher. Both ich and der Lehrer are in the nominative case. Why? Because the noun der Lehrer comes after bin, which is the first-person conjugated form of the verb sein, and it only describes the subject, ich. It is basically expanding more on the subject ich, saying that I, or ich, is der Lehrer, the teacher. There is no receiver of the action of the subject here, because the verb sein is not performing any action. Sie wird eine Ärztin. She becomes a doctor. Sie is the subject, and eine Ärztin also stays nominative. Again, the same logic. After the word wird, which again is a conjugated form of the verb werden, we are still talking about the subject who becomes a doctor. No action is being performed by the subject here. Bleibt ein guter Freund. He remains a good friend. Again, both and ein guter Freund are in nominative. In all of our three examples, which have used the verbs sein, werden, and bleiben, the second noun doesn't receive any action. It's just describing or identifying the subject. So even though in English it might feel like an object, in German it's still treated as part of the subject and stays in the nominative case. Okay, quick recap before we wrap up. The nominative case is used for the subject of the sentence, the person or thing doing the action. But what exactly does the nominative case change? It affects the article in front of the noun, like der, die, das, or ein, eine, any adjectives describing the noun, and of course, the noun itself if it's being declined, rare at A1. So even if the noun stays the same, the words around it change depending on the case. But don't worry, we'll take it one step at a time. In the next few videos, we'll look at nominative with definite articles, der, die, das, nominative with indefinite articles, ein, eine, nominative with kein, the word we use for negation. One video for each. Short, clear, and with lots of examples. So hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. Because now that you understand what the nominative case is, you're ready to start using it the right way.